Welcome back to Worlds 2019 in our second quarterfinal of the day. LPL champions FunPlus Phoenix versus the hometown favorites, Fnatic. The EU powerhouse pulled off a miracle to make it here and are looking to continue their road towards another world final. We pulled a little bit of a lane swap here, brought in VODs and Frost to preview this EU matchup against the #1 seed from the LPL region.
Brought in the true experts, if you will. VODs and I here.
I definitely doubted them in the group stages, and I know a lot of people were starting to doubt them. I did not think that they would be able to make the miracle run, but the 7-time LEC champions, the most popular team that we have in Europe, managed to make the miracle run last week, taking down SKT, RNG to now go up against FPX today.
And that's the thing, you said it all. Fnatic don't really need an introduction if you haven't been keeping up on the LEC. However, what you do need to know is that this roster did rebuild itself. Obviously, losing Caps and Soaz was a huge blow to it. They struggled a bit in spring, brought in Nemesis, who now has had, what, a solo kill on FLICKR twice, I believe? Well, he had the Veigar one in the Ryze outplay.
All right.
We're not counting the Veigar one. That was a bit of a self-inflicted wound.
I'm just saying, Nimi is showing up pretty hot, which is why Fnatic fans are really on momentum right now.
Yeah, I would happily put solo kill on my resume.
My only take is I look at the mainstay players for me, the people that stayed along for the ride, Rekkles, Hylissang, Broxah. Like, they have had monstrous performance in the second half of the week. Like Broxah in particular, like, Lee Sin, mechanics on point. I expect them to come in big today.
Let's take a stroll down memory lane there for that last day of groups and the miracle run for Fnatic here to the quarterfinals. Again, let's remember that their previous World Finals opponents just took the series to move on, got that vote of confidence from the Shy looking forward, and I think Fnatic will really take that as kind of a boon of momentum here up against FunPlus.
And I think it's the thing to understand about this Fnatic versus last year's Fnatic is they are no longer just RNG light. They were no longer just playing through Rekkles as kind of that semi-Uzi, and instead it was playing this high-octane, fast and furious style where it's about unlocking Hilly to start roaming around the map and creating plays with Broxah.
And I don't want people to have that takeaway from week one, though. Like, oh, mage bottom lanes and playing AD carry was the solution. Like, they still had some great compositions lined up. It's just that you're seeing some excellent plays from a lot of the players here.
And when was the last time a Fnatic fan got to say, Rekkles doesn't have a small champion pool? He plays more champions than is possible at this tournament. He's got the Morgana, he's got the Garen. Fnatic fans are like, please just play Xayah.
The reality is there is a lot of hype behind this Fnatic roster right now. But that's also why I'm here to bring a bit of a reality check. Because they're going up against FunPlus Phoenix. This team is no pushover. They did not have the most impressive group stages, admittedly. That was supposed to be the group of life that allowed this team to pretty much go 6-0 and have an easy walk into the quarterfinals. But I don't think we've seen the true power of this FPX roster just yet.
No surprise seeing that arena littered with the Fnatic flags, as there's plenty of support in the crowd from the EU fans. But while Fnatic has dominated EU throughout history alongside G2, FunPlus Phoenix's big breakthrough came just this year.
Yes, because they almost had the winningest split in the summer split. It was all off the back of Doinb, Tian. Like, they had a great group of players that won team fight after team fight, and then when they went up against RNG in the finals, they made it convincing. So FPX, this is their year. It was obviously for the international viewers that are like, what are you talking about? Group B looked very odd. But once again, to reiterate, their wins in that group were convincing and is how I expect them to play going forward.
And frankly, it's been a long time coming, particularly for that guy in the mid lane right there. Doinb has been playing for 5 years on 4 different teams with 3 different junglers. Excuse me, 4 different junglers. Forgot Flawless there. And he's just been waiting for this moment. So I understand that they have a weird name. The song is Phoenix. I think it kind of goes to this momentum behind them, but it truly is a story of a Phoenix rising from the ashes. Doinb has been a staple of the LPL for so long, and now he finally gets to fly when it counts.
And the fun story about this was, like, before 2019 hit, before Tian and Doinb came in, this team was already known as young mechanics in GimGoon, LWX, and Chris. They were strong players anyways. So the fact that all you needed was that puzzle piece to connect the rest of the map already goes to show why they're now world contenders here. So great stuff coming in from FPX. We just need to see that consistency come in.
And this is ultimately what makes FPX such a good team. Coming into the tournament, something that we actually discussed a lot was this team doesn't really have superstars. Even though you look at Doinb and his great performance, what makes this team fantastic is their ability to work together and how they complement each other. And for me, one of the big glue pieces was Tian in the jungle. I think that he has been one of the standout performers in the group stages, but he's also someone that coordinates and works so well with both his mid laner and support that he creates so many opportunities for this roster to succeed.
I mean, according to Raz, he's the jungler in the tournament.
Yeah, I have Tian as the best jungler with how consistent he has been on point in tracking the enemy jungler, going through mid lane, and even just basically playing ad hoc, recognizing if Doinb can't be along the ride with him, he's going to make the action happen to the bottom side of the map. He is, for me, been the most optimal jungler.
But the key word that I really agree with VODs here is synergy. The synergy between Tian and Doinb is what the recipe for success is for FPX. But they attack the game in a fairly similar style. It is about roaming out into the side lanes, a lot of action happening everywhere, and how you attack the map holistically rather than just trying to brute force advantages in lanes.
All right, I think this is very interesting. We've obviously already set up both of these teams as very solid ones, or even Goliaths in their own right. But how do they actually match up? How do you expect that jungle matchup, per se, when you say Tian is the best in the tournament?
That's the thing. Whenever you see two teams that are very like-minded and also very similar, it really is just a stat check. Who's the better of the two? I think Tian coming into this one is going to be much better in the sense that he is always very resource-driven. He knows where to actually send his manpower, going straight through mid whenever possible. He is the quicker jungler in my eyes. Obviously, it just depends on who's better on the day, but I have a lot of faith in the man.
I think a lot of it comes down to draft, personally. What we do know for certain is that there are a lot of contested picks between these two teams because they're very similar in their approach. We talked a lot about how Tian often acts as a glue for many of the members on FPX. Broxah is the early game essence of what makes Fnatic so strong in that part of the map. And when we look at some of the champions that they prioritize for both teams, things like the Gragas, the Elise, the Lee Sin, all three champions especially known for both of these junglers.
And I feel like there's kind of two different questions to kind of kick off the draft phase here. There's, for Fnatic, how do you deal with the Ryze? It could be that you just feel confident that you have Nemesis Cassiopeia, that he can skill check the matchup, and then suddenly Doinb's Ryze isn't a problem.
Yeah.
On the other side, then, for FPX, what if Garen Yuumi actually comes back? Do you have a situation where if Garen Yuumi are played, do FPX have to ban it? Will it actually break the series? And so I think draft starts from there and then only gets more complicated as so many of these pools overlap.
It's super important. In game one, I think FPX would want the Garen Yuumi to come through just because of the fact that LWX can play into it with the Vayne. Like we've already seen the Kog'Maw Lulu. Exactly. So they can see that in that mindset. What I'm worried about here is this guy. Is the Shen. It's the globals that can come through and mess up a lot of the flow that FPX runs through. If they come into the bot side of the map and they think that they had the numbers game, not the case. We've seen them get messed up with that in the past.
I mean, not just FPX, but LPL teams in general. Anytime you see an LPL team all the way back to the Cloud9 days, TL has also done it. When you run a Shen, then when the LPL teams come to skirmish you, suddenly they don't have the numbers advantage. Suddenly you can turn the tide on them. And I think it is a recipe for success here if they reach for high mobility, global composition with a Twisted Fate, a Nocturne, a Shen.
And what I think is super interesting about these two teams specifically is a lot of the variation and uniqueness that we see in the draft comes from both the mid laners. We saw the Veigar come out from Nemesis. He was originally the Kayle player on this team before she was very popular, whereas for Doinb, the Malphite, the Kled, there's a variety of champions that he could bring out. And something we were talking about earlier in the day, Frost, was very much that Twisted Fate is something every team has banned away from this man. If anyone is going to leave it up, you know it's going to be FPX because they will have prepared a counter. And how deep do the mind games go? What preparation have both these teams come in? Because these are not teams that come into a best of 5 with nothing new on their plate.
And that's the thing. When you see FPX's champions rolled out, you're like, wait a minute, that's just Doinb's champion pool. And it only gets larger because of the time that we talk about Kled mid, also can be shared to GimGoon. Both GimGoon and Doinb have been Kled mid players and Kled top players for the entire time.
I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm going to assume it's the same. This is so easy to predict once you see the draft. But I feel like the hardness of this, the coin flip, is because you just don't know how the teams are going to draft.
I like it. Well, I'm going to make you predict without seeing the draft. Sorry to burst your bubble, but down the line, Frost, we're going to start with you. Who takes it, FPX, or does Fnatic continue their run towards another World Finals appearance?
Okay, I'm actually going to go with Fnatic. And I'm going to go with a 3-1, and I think that might be surprising because I feel like a lot of people are leaning towards FPX. I think the difference makers will be Rekkles and will be Bwipo, but that means you need to see the best iteration of Rekkles and Bwipo. I think Bwipo has a creative enough champion pool that he can cause a lot of problems with things like that Shin pick, and I think Rekkles is actually just a better ADC, at least at this tournament, than LWX.
You caught me with the RNG Fnatic votes. So you may have got me in Group C. This time around, you have to have seen the LPL summer split to really know what FPX is. I wouldn't look at Group C and take too much from it. I think that what we will see is the FPX of old, I suppose. They will come in, they will come strong.
Are you betting on a team returning to form from 4 weeks ago when we just saw them last week in a mess?
Look, I saw 2 games where they're pretty good. And a lot of the times people will look, I'm saying we will see it, much like a lot of us, including the fan votes, were wrong in Series 1. I think people will be wrong and will undersell FPX.
Fair enough. We've got a tie at the moment, Vedius. Where are you going?
Yeah, where are you going?
I made a mistake not believing in Fnatic last week. When they managed to get out of groups, my faith was clearly shattered. I was proven wrong.
I like this.
And I'm going to continue being wrong as I believe in FPX.
Get it up!
The reality is, this team has a much higher baseline than what we're seeing from the Fnatic squad. Their range is so wide, and I'm going to give a very specific example as to why I believe this.
Okay,
Many
please.
fans are conveniently forgetting the clutch game that happened against Fnatic.
It's just a warm-up.
And that's the problem. It's not just the warm-up.
It's a nice stretch.
It's a part of who Fnatic are. And while you do get the good, you get the bad as well. And the bad from FPX is never that
What about
low.
the splice? What about the splice game?
They were out-drafted. And I think that this time around in a best of 5, while I believe they can drop a game, the baseline performance from FPX is not the same as what we saw from
But will they even hit their baseline? Based on their World's performances so far, can you even expect FPX to show up to that level? Whereas between weeks 1 and 2, Fnatic did improve greatly.
You want to take this one?
This is the ultimate question, right? Because Worlds is a... Worlds, the reason why it's so controversial, the reason why we saw IG beat Griffin today was because you don't know which teams will perform at their ceiling, right? And every team, and people are counting Splice out, but even Splice at their ceiling have the ability to create upsets and opportunities. And the question that fans and us as analysts should have today, which team will perform at their ceiling? I believe it's FPX.
But you have evidence that Fnatic have performed at their ceiling, where FPX have not at this tournament.
I still believe in FPX.
Okay.
I think what's beautiful about this, right, is we've established that both teams have paths to victory and that it will rely largely on execution and who shows up on the day. That is the nature of Worlds and international tournaments, is that any given day, a different person can come out the victor. And here today, we have a very split desk. Good news for us.
Traitor.
We get to sit back and watch some of these games and let the teams prove to us who deserves to come away with that victory.
Come back, Mau. Come back over here.
Hey, I'm on the winning side. I picked it in the RNG match. I've got it in the FPX one.
I'm personally very happy that we are split here this time around as compared to the first series of the day where the analysts seemed largely aligned in the predictions. This time around feels a little bit more contentious.
I actually really like this because I got a nice runway. I can get a good momentum building.
As soon as we toss, it's going to be a whole rumble here in the analyst desk to see who comes out the victors.
I'm just saying.
What?
For me, this is a win-win. Because if FPX
he hedges bets. He's like, I predict FPX.
I know.
Fnatic when
just admitted to hedging your bets, my friend.
No, but I really do think
you're
that
a coward.
Tian is someone that we saw the potential of last week, and I really think we're going to see him style on Broxah today. I genuinely think that is one of the biggest difference makers in today's matchup.
And also, just remember, if we're talking about growth throughout the tournament, first 2 weeks, young players from FPX's side have gotten that all out. Maybe we'll have one ink game. That's all right. I'm cool with that. The problem is 5 games in a row. Don't think Fnatic can do it.
Go ahead.
I just think that Fnatic have creativity and versatility in how they play as a team, not just in champion picks, whereas I actually think FPX have creativity, but only in champion picks. But their play style remains the same every time.
All right, with that, the teams are readying up on stage. So for FPX, this is a chance to reach new heights, while Fnatic look to get one step closer to another world final. Let's head to the stage.
Ya estamos aquí, segundo cuarto de final, ha llegado el momento, acabamos de ver a Invictus Gaming ganar su cuarto de final, tenemos ya los siguientes 2 participantes preparados y uno de ellos es el campeón chino. Un fuerte aplauso para FunPlus Phoenix. En la top lane, GimGoon. En la jungla, Tian. En el carril central, Doinb. Como tirador, LWX. Como support, que no suplente, disculpad, Crisp. Como sustituto, Shinji. Y como entrenador, Warhorse. Y ahora sí, llega el 6 veces campeón de Europa. Llega el equipo que estábamos esperando, Fnatic. En la top lane, como jungla, Mr. Broxah. En la calle central, el hombre de hielo, Nemesis. Como tirador, una leyenda, como support, Hylissang. Como suplente Dan y como entrenador, preparado, preparado Madrid. Fuerte Río. Segundo cuarto de final preparado. Muchas gracias a todos, chicos.
Thank you so much, Ibai. That is one hell of an intro. I'm QuickShot, joined by Kobe. And for the first time at Worlds 2019, Deficio, welcome back.
Thank you.
To the caster desk.
Honored to be here.
I love that you can hear the Spanish accent in the Fnatic chants coming out of the Palacio Vastalegre.
Ibai always gets me amped up and brings a smile to my face.
And Fnatic, they've been in this arena before. They've won very important games here as well. This is another big one for them.
Yes.
I'm so happy they play FPX in this game because I feel both teams actually match each other very well, and that just makes it an awesome game.
Okay, so who are we going to give the advantage to when we get ready for the draft? As you know, I love my little stats. Took a little look into Doinb. He has 20 unique champion played over the course of summer, the most of the entire league, and with some confidence, the most of any player worldwide. He's the most talked about man on FunPlus Phoenix, so where is he in the squad going to be taking it?
Yeah, and for a good reason. He defines the teams that he is on. He plays a lot of these off-meta champions. He roams very frequently, works with the jungler, with the support so frequently that he does determine a lot of ways these go.
And I know from having a mid laner with a large champion pool that there's a lot of positives. There can be also some negatives. Your entire team are not always on the same page as you when you lock in some of these new things, but luckily he's the kind of player who brings very good communication. He calls what he needs the team to do. He knows when he has to roam to set up something. So that's why he's able to pull it off at this world-class level.
Well, let's see what the players can do. We're quickly flicking through the player cams. And other than Nemesis, who always looks like a stone-cold killer, there's some nervous faces on the Fnatic squad. Obviously, they have the home crowd advantage, but that adds some pressure to them, doesn't it?
I think it helps them. They've tried it before, man. They've been here so many times. And I'm predicting some crazy level 1 strategy from Fnatic that gives them an early lead, and then the crowd will go crazy.
All right, what champions would you like to see that actually come true, Deficio, as we jump into the first draft of Fnatic versus FunPlus Phoenix?
Let's see. Pick and ban phase. Fnatic obviously on the red side, meaning a little bit limited normally in the bans. Panther will most likely come in as the obvious one.
Let's see if they also respect things like the Kiana. Following it up as well. Kale has been very pivotal, but this matchup might actually be determined by a lot more focus on the early game than we saw in our previous best of 5 to open up the day.
Yeah, because when you have two teams who are very focused around jungle support, creating plays together, most of that happens in the early game. Once you get to late game, your group is 5 anyway, and then you have to team fight.
And already we're seeing a little bit of a pinch on the jungle here with the red side, or the blue side, Gragas ban from Phoenix 1+. I think that focusing on the Elise and the Lee Sin here could come in very quickly.
So I was about to mention also Ryze and Renekton as kind of two choices you had to look at as Fnatic. We've seen Renekton first pick multiple times already. We know Ryze is an amazing pick for Doinb, and we know they can flex it, but they're actually grabbing Xayah for the second time only all year long.
Yeah, focusing on the bottom side, and Fnatic as well. There's been a lot of discussion, of course, from the group stage, them playing Garen, them playing Morgana, non-marksman.
There it is.
But they've already locked it in. The Yuumi is there. Twisted Fate.
Wait, I'm excited about TF.
Hold on, Twisted.
I don't care about Yuumi.
You don't care about Yuumi?
I want TF.
Twisted Fate is more important because Nemesis has looked best when he is on roam champions. Range champions for the mid lane that can then affect the side lanes. But you have to say, Yuumi is a champion that defines the entire team composition.
Well, the Twisted Fate for Nemesis, 7 wins, during the summer split, 2 losses to his name. It was a champion that helped define him in the summer split. And there's that Ryze that you were talking about a moment ago, Deficio.
Yeah, we know again they can flex it into 2 lanes. I think if they do decide to put it mid, expect early game jungle attention towards the lane so they can try and actually put TF behind. And really that is just the story of this game here, this series. Both mid laners are capable of playing this push into roam, and it requires jungle and support attention. Yuumi cannot help. She's stuck with the Garen, so that could give an edge to FPX.
And the big difference this time around for the Yuumi Garen from group stage is the Twisted Fate was banned every single time. So I want to see Nemesis coming, help out that kitty cat and tank in the bottom lane.
Definitely going to try and lend them some help. On the other side, for FPX, the Ryze is something that was pretty critical because Doinb had an interview after their group stage games where they looked remarkably weaker than their LPL play during all of summer, basically. And he talked about needing to play a carry champion. This is one of his most played champions. He does build somewhat defensively on it, getting things like the Righteous Glory, so he can still be the point man for the team and create plays.
100% agree. And while Fnatic can play towards the Garen Yuumi lane, you don't have to. They still have the option on red side to last pick top. Try and go for a counter matchup, then abuse the fact you have TF ulti to guarantee basically snowballing this matchup here. GP was banned early, that's typically the normal blind pick they would go for on red, but now they don't have to. Bwipo could be on a carry.
Honestly, I would rather see Bwipo on an offensive champion for Fnatic and have Twisted Fate try and enable that.
Exactly.
Because we have seen FPX look their worst when they're under attack early, when they're the recipient of the tower dives rather than the ones with the pushing lanes getting them off.
I just want to highlight this clip ban. Might seem a little bit weird, but it is something FPX can play in both lanes. Raz already highlighted this on the analyst desk, and they could have taken it, put it potentially against the TF to try and see if they could snowball the lane. It is removed now. Jarvan obviously also taken away on the side of Fnatic.
And Elise here, we're talking about tower dives, perfect jungle champion to get those off the ground. The only missing piece to that Fnatic composition would be a damage-oriented champion for Bwipo. So we shall see. FPX have to show first.
Exactly, and I actually like the Olaf pick here as well. One, you can match early game, and two, you can run TF down. Like, there's no way for him to fully escape when an Olaf comes charging at him. Camille can also be put mid in this situation here, so you have amazing setup to try and shut down a very squishy, low mobility pick on the side of Fnatic, but we expected to carry top because we want to see if there are more lanes they can play around with TF and not just the Garen Yuumi lane.
Camille mid has seen a lot of success already.
Oh my God, he
at the World
I can't believe it.
We're talking it up. Carry champion, but nobody wanted to say the words. Finally, his infamous Rengar
played. 2 professional games played. 1 win, 1 loss. He went 5 kills, 10 deaths, 8 assists. It's one of the most controversial top lane picks in European history. And in a quarterfinal matchup, the carry that Bwipo chooses is another kitty cat.
I love it because if you just look one day back on the social media, literally has Young Buck telling you, please stop playing Rengar top. Well, you keep playing what you love and eventually you get to play on the world's stage.
Now, do we like it? Deficio or Kobe, what do you think?
So in a game 1 of a best of 5, yes, I like it. You can gamble, you can take the chance. I think it's the kind of pick where if he gets ahead, the amount of pressure he puts on the map by just going missing from his top lane, it's absolutely insane. You literally cannot sit mid when he's missing top side. I don't think the 1v1 early game is very good though.
And there's a big if. I'll talk a little bit more about Rengar top matchups when we get into the game, but it hinges so much on early priority. If Rengar loses priority on the brush, it becomes a useless top lane champion. All right, Quickshot's giving me the slowdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FunPlus Phoenix taking on Fnatic. This was potentially the most exciting set of quarterfinals we've ever had in World Championship history, and to open the first quarterfinal of the day, Poppy mid was a thing. Now we have Rengar top and Garen Yuumi bot.
And also we have level 1, always important in Fnatic games. FPX, what have they prepared? Sitting 5 members bottom side, can now either move up towards the river as 5 into the small little brush and then late invade on blue, or they can see if someone is coming down on the Fnatic side to check early. It looks like they're moving in towards blue here. Fnatic, 5 members on bottom side as well. Will be spotted.
Yeah, they're going to get early vision here. easy disengage for Fnatic, but they can't fight it. Even if they know that they're here, you cannot challenge the Olaf Ryze early.
Oh, they're still around.
Oh, the engage has already come in. FunPlus hope over the wall. Fnatic start to back away. You and me can use a little bit there, but there's still the potential for an engage.
Staying in it. They have a ward on the other side now, FPX, so they can see Fnatic are walking that route around to get back towards the blue buff. Seems like they want to try and steal blue, maybe split the map in half.
They're getting pretty hyped up too. Yuumi already using the Ignite from Hylissang.
No one's giving up this blue buff.
Gold card is primed. We're going to keep a close eye. Crisp gets locked down.
Guys, we have 10 players trying to get a blue buff. Level 1. Here we go.
That's a massive knocker. FunPlus find the engage. Fnatic are retreating. The precision protocol correction, the hookshot rather, sends Camille flying at blue buff. Still not yet conceded. Now the smite goes down. It resets. It resets. Welcome to the World Championship, ladies and gentlemen, where the Sentinel resets and goes the way of Fnatic.
That was Tian's smite right there. Now is it Olaf without blue buff and what, 50, 60 mana to his name? That is going to be very difficult trying to get back into it.
It was harder to take down the blue buff than a North American team here at Worlds.
I just got here, man.
I just got here.
Shots fired as Deficio is landed at Worlds. But let's go back to this Tian point. Raz has talked this man up so much today. Kobe, what impact is this going to have on Olaf's jungling?
I'm still reeling. I'm on the floor here. Quick shot. Delivered a defeating blow already. I want to focus on this Rengar matchup. Not exactly sure what you just said for the setup, but Rengar top, as we said, requires that early pressure, does get the level 2. Bwipo going hard, has the empowered Q, Conquer procced!
He's chasing 110 HP! Savage! Bwipo solo kills GimGoon!
That is how you do it! Gets in the extra jumps, pushes hard for the level 2, and chases him down with Conquer.
700 gold lead. GimGoon TP's back to lane, and Bwipo's pick pays off.
It's the classic level 2 power spike. Nothing Camille can do to fight back. Broxah around mid.
All right, where's the cocoon? Doinb has got himself the flash and very easily sidesteps it, so makes it out alive.
All right, bottom they're going to have a trade here, but it's Garen, as you know, with the Yuumi will just heal back up. Because Rengar top is abnormal for pro play, I want to continue to focus on it. And what I was going to talk about was that Fnatic have drafted around it. You saw them get the setup before they lock it in for last pick. They require Twisted Fate mid to help out with extra pressure from ganking from mid with the ultimates. And a jungler like Elise that can play off of that pushing pressure can threaten dives.
Do you also think it's important to highlight Broxah looking towards mid early? As we kind of highlight, mid priority is so key between both teams. Nemesis was very low in that lane here. He had to go back and blow TP early on. Let's see bot lane dive.
All right, teleport's coming in. That's the knockup landing onto Rekkles. He decides to turn back to the tower, but this is an easy kill. Crisp is the one that gets the credit. Hylissang's low on mana. The turret aggro has been swapped. Tian goes low, survives by 80 HP. Now the tower turns to LWX. It's a trade 1-for-1, but 3 members stand. A gigantic minion wave and the turret plates as well.
And let's see if anything happens top now. Normally when so many members are investing so much time bot, you cross-map instantly and try and gain an advantage. There's still flash on GimGoon. That's important to highlight. He didn't use it last time. And Broxah ended up just recon because the wave is not in a position to actually tower dive.
Very, very big move there from FPX to get the bottom side rolling for themselves. The Xayah is going to have to be a very critical part. Let's take another look at how they started out. Calling in the Olaf plus the teleport so early on.
And it's just such a clean dive to execute. Do use TP as well, obviously, from mid, but they knew Broxah was most likely top side. There were no camps to take. He'd already shown mid from the top side, so they felt very safe going down with the jungler to actually execute this play.
And this is when FPX have looked their best. It's when they're setting up the aggressive moves on the side lanes themselves. You talk about Doinb using his teleport for the team there to try and get that going. It does find some success for them. The top side, though, is going to be heavily Fnatic favored. You see these 3 Doran stacks from Bwipo. You have to keep the pressure rolling on a pick like this.
But I think you highlighting in the TP is important. It's a big investment, you know? He lost more minions in mid. Nemesis is actually ahead in experience. He will hit level 6 fairly soon.
All right, Rekkles gets knocked up once again. LWX and Crisp having a good time in this lane, applying pressure pressure to the Fnatic bottom.
And a big reason why it is important, Deficio, and you talked about Broxah going mid, if you get to lend some pressure as Broxah towards mid and free up Nemesis, then all of a sudden you get to use that proactive Twisted Fate ultimate that is going to be Fnatic's answer to it.
All right, of course, you've talked a lot about FunPlus and how their style has worked out. The analyst desk was talking a lot about Summer versus Worlds. I actually just want to quickly remind everybody just how dominant FunPlus Phoenix was. This is their LPL Summer record. 35-6, kills at 15, out the charts, and a 1.4 average gold lead at 15 minutes.
It was by basically executing plays like the one we just saw here. It's not about individual advantages in these lanes. You don't have laners who just stomp whoever they play against, which we have seen from very dominant Chinese teams in the past. It's teamwork, it's communication, and it's coordination. Mainly mid-jungle, so Tian and Crisp, and then, of course, setting up Doinb to get priority in mid, and then he can roam to whichever lane he wants to, and they just hard commit.
Yeah, Doinb, definitely a big part of it. It's funny because we say a lot of similar threads for Fnatic side. Twisted Fate now is level 6 and has the ultimate, so if they're looking for another side lane play, it will go completely differently because the teleports are on cooldown, and Nemesis would be the first one there.
Yeah, obvious choice seems like top lane. Like, you kind of need level 6 on Yuumi bot to actually have some sort of setup that's not just the gold card from TF himself. So Fnatic might just end up having to play defensive on bottom side. It could set up another tower dive because right now, Ryze is getting the push and he's moving again.
Right, 20 CS advantage in the top lane for Bwipo. Those triple Doran's Blades doing a lot of work. The blue buff seems to be another point of contention as FPX have moved their way into challenge this one from Fnatic.
Yeah, and they should be able to finish it off unless Broxah goes for the smite bite.
All right, Broxah gets caught up, knocked up in the air, trying to defend the blue and instantly killed.
And this is a bit of a problem here, something we have seen in the past from Broxah when he's getting put in situations where he has to decide between, do I defend on weak side, which in this case it was the weak side because his duo was back in base, they were not there to contest, or do I go and try and invade on enemy side? Like, that decision you gotta basically make instantly. He went for the, I want to defend the buff. Not the correct call, no backup for him, another good kill for FPX.
Yeah, an extremely good setup here for FPX, getting the Infernal as well for them on the opposite side of the map from Bwipo. They're not trying to fight in the Rengar's territory after that first blood money went over. I think it's an intelligent choice from FPX to just opt to the other half of the map. They can bully on the invade here with Olaf. They've got Rakan for the hard engage. That means that it is just not enough respect, I think, from Broxah as far as the catch.
I just want to quickly praise Crisp right here for actually reading the situation. He hides behind the corner, so he's out of vision. Yes, Broxah wants you to try and smite steal and then walk away, but he gets surprised that Rakan is in that position. So actually just a really good engage on a fairly greedy play.
And if you look at where these choices are going to take us in the game, given the context of these team compositions, you're looking at the outplay later on. There is a fed Rengar for Fnatic. He's got CS lead, he has lane priority. They can try and transfer pressure from the top lane Rengar to try and gank that bottom lane and play off of it, but it's a Xayah. One of the reasons this is such a critical pick is because of the self-peel ultimate, and can FPX play around LWX like they did in summer in the LPL?
So after losing the fight at his own blue buff, Broxah was actually just checking enemy blue. It will now be given over. He's around. He has good, decent vision. They know where enemy jungler is. He can now path bot side, so they're ready. Actually, they're all in him.
They are indeed. That's a flash ball from Rekkles. The final chapter as well. Great play from Chris to re-engage. Demacian Justice comes down, but Hilly picks up the final hit onto LWX. It's still an even goal game between the teams.
And it's so simple. Fnatic, they understand how much damage can Garen and Yuumi do together. Okay, we know we can all in. We just need to see enemy jungler. They see him at the blue buff, and then they go.
And now you also have to worry. There is no Xayah ultimate, and there's a level 8 fed Rengar with teleport and ultimate available. I'm very curious to see how Fnatic are actually going to use Bwipo from this stage forward. If they want to take over the rest of the map, or keep him trying to punish the Camille and keep the Camille down, because that is going to become much more difficult. Trying to go the CS denial.
Oh, I love the Spanish fans echoing the feeling on the desk as the recall does complete. All right, 400 gold lead here for Fnatic to Fisho. Infernal Drake goes the way of FunPlus and Rekkles.
And TF can ult. TF can ult down bot side now if he wants to. They have Broxah here as well. It might be a 4 versus 4, however, because we see constantly, top of your screen, Doinb, he keeps moving into the river on bottom side. He just sits out of vision sometimes just to maybe fake that he's actually going bot, but it also stops Nemesis from just instantly TPing anywhere.
Okay, so Nemesis is being shoved in under the turret. He's got the Phage, he's got the Sheen. Pretty much even on CS as Tian is now waiting in the wings. Top lane still continues to grow. Bwipo returned to lane with that Phage and Kindle Gem, cranking 40 CS up over his lane opponent. But we've not seen him TP. Every time I see Bwipo duck back into the bushes, there is that possibility.
I mean, one of the reasons he's not just TPing down is they don't have river control on the side of Fnatic. If you look at the vision, it is heavily in favor of FPX. So they don't know exactly where Olaf is positioned. They don't know how quick Doinb can actually move down. And that stops them because they do know if it is a 4-man gank and there are 3 or 4 guys suddenly from FPX, it's going to be a big fight happening, and you can't guarantee to win that.
Yeah, there's a possibility of a very big fight happening. Everyone has teleports ready to answer, and you can tell where the focus is. With that concentration of Fnatic wards on the bottom half of the map, and Broxah slipping in for a lane gank going through the control ward, they're setting up for the possible Ocean Drake coming up very quickly in that river you talk about.
Also, they are allowing Rekkles and Hylissang, without flash, obviously, to push out. They can now recall and they can decide, run through mid. Do we want to go set up early Herald? That's an opportunity for you. You'll be there first. Or do you just want to return to bottom side and try and connect bot and mid? So get your push bot lane, move towards mid to clear the river wards, and then you start getting more control on bottom side.
I think they're going to have to sync a recall between Bwipo and Nemesis first. They need the completion of the Trinity Force and the Black Cleaver. Would be very big power spikes for both the solo laners here, and they may look to try and get that before they go in.
I think it's also important to highlight that people might look at Rengar as like a snowball pick, but it's actually not. He adds so much value later in the game, and we'll talk more about it when we have the full map set up outside of laning phase. But he doesn't need to snowball to be useful. It's actually a lot about how he uses ulti to apply pressure everywhere, basically.
But obviously this advantage is going to help him out.
No I mean, you always take the level 2, level 1 all in.
Take a look at the itemization as now the engage goes down on the bottom. There's the Destiny and the Gate. Teleport comes forward. Rekkles is going in. He's spinning, but he's not yet winning. GimGoon and Doinb are going to return. Nemesis is already shut down. Now Rekkles running for his life. Prowling projectile. Buy some time. Bwipo comes in, sinks the fangs down, and it's savage. Turns his attention to GimGoon. Will be able to be an unseen predator. Hopping and skipping and jumping onto FPX. He does get shut down on the fray. LWX with the Essence Reaver gets the shutdown, gets the double, and Fnatic run for the last.
That's a big focus bottom we were talking about and looking for. And in the end, actually, because of that outplay, it is FPX that come away with the extra kill. Bwipo does go down there and tries to clean them up, but that last blade caller from LWX getting the answer kill. Let's take a look at how it starts out. Everybody with their eyes towards bottom, as soon as Twisted Fate ultimate goes down, the teleports start to channel.
And I really like the CC right there from Crisp onto Nemesis instantly. And as you highlighted, Kobe, double TP coming in. Both junglers are on the other side of the map. They were not here to join the fight. It became the exact 4 versus 4 we were just highlighting. Fnatic are not guaranteed to win that. They could not take down FPX's bot lane fast enough.
So where does this leave us as we come out of the replay? 6 kills to 5, a minor gold advantage for Fnatic. As Rekkles does have his recall interrupted, and I think crucially, LWX, by the way, yes, he's up 1,300 gold over his lane opponent. Take a look at total net gold for the lane, plus 700 for the duo. Essence Reaver completed, I believe he's cashed in on that call, and this could very well be the first tower of the game falling.
And they'll also get the Drake right now. So FPX have actually done a great job controlling bot side, which is what we saw from them in the LPL, which is one of the things they did so well. People can't decide if LWX is like an amazing player who can just carry on his own, or if he's someone who's just getting a lot of resources. Like, he loves to all in, he loves to be aggressive, but it's also easier to do that when you know your jungler and your mid laner are always looking towards your lane to try and set up, as we've seen here, multiple plays together.
Yeah, he's definitely the recipient of a lot of the pressure from Doinb and Tian roaming around the map, focusing on that bottom side, and it has paid returns. This Xayah, very good CS so far, looking towards the second item as they start up the Rift Herald, but Fnatic are decent placement. No teleport from Rekkles means that is not going to be an answer.
No, Nemesis has got the Destiny available, Thrill of the Hunt for Bwipo, and he's actually thrown it down. Nemesis is going to be stepping forward. Gold Card was prime, but look, Bwipo ran in, ran away. They're going to concede this one. Both teams secure 2 turret plates, but FPX got the turret first blood, and that's an engage forward onto Doinb. His flash was forced. Bwipo's now waiting in the wings. I'm looking to see if FPX can find initiation. Where is Chris? Flash is available for him, but he holds on to it for now.
And it's a very low cooldown now that it's a level 11 Rengar with the Black Cleaver, as well as another Caulfield's Warhammer of cooldown reduction. We have a pick in the jungle.
Yeah, we do. Nemesis just looks to run down GimGoon. Gold Card Prime locked down. Prowling projectile on Nemesis. That was just a confident play from Fnatic.
But if you look back at the last like 1 or 2 minutes, it's actually been heavily FPX favored after that fight in bot lane. They came back with the AD carry. They actually got tempo bot side, took a turret, got a Drake secured at the same time, and Fnatic were not in a position to swap up and trade for Herald. Let's see around mid.
All right, that's the engage here from Chris. Gets multi-man charm onto Rekkles as well as the support. Rekkles now running for his life. Broxah's in trouble, forced to get away over the wall. All of a sudden, Rekkles is down. Engage in the mid lane. LWX sends the feathers flying. 2 quick kills for FPX.
And they still have the Rift Herald on top side. If you look at the mini-map, that Rift Herald is going to go into the top turret while they push mid, getting 2 lanes of objectives for themselves.
Oh man, this tower's going to fall here in the mid lane. There's no defense and support. Hylissang without somebody to work with is not going to provide the power they need. An FPX 1,500 gold lead, 3 towers to 0.
And one of the big things for Fnatic's comp here is that once you get out of laning phase and it's an open map, you can really abuse your globals. Right now, it's still early on, so they're grouped up. They're trying to actually, in this case, greed for a turret without having priority in the mid lane, and they get engaged on once again. Crisp landing a great setup.
That was the big thing there. You could see Nemesis on the inside of the Raptor pit with very low mana, only gets to throw a gold card at an ulted Olaf over that fight. So it was a really good job of FPX recognizing their opening, but bottom side, GimGoon under attack again.
All right, great interrupt from Bwipo. I'd like to believe he stepped in front intentionally. The cocoon lands as well, but look, there's not enough damage yet. GimGoon and the Camille passive doing a lot of work to keep him alive as he escapes, but at the end of the day, not a huge amount committed to send him back.
Fnatic sitting 0 turrets kill, lost all the tier 1 towers. Gives FPX so many opportunities now to just push in lanes. They can decide we want to get mid priority, that's the normal one, and then they pick a strong side where they place their vision. They secure another turret. Fnatic are all inning for these picks, either in the jungle or now just in the side lane, and they're not actually finding success.
And to me, the big difference there is that they're just not being able to actually execute on it, because I think that's how they should be playing, how they have to play. Chris finds the pick in mid.
He does indeed. Broxah will be able to repel by some time. Final chapter comes down. That's going to stun up, or at least root just a couple. Rekkles is considering stepping forward. Gold card was primed, and that will be enough to get the LWX ultimate out. He lands on the Ryze ulti and escapes with his life. Here comes Nemi, but he gets chunked down, blown up, almost dead. Not just yet. Tian trying to run him down. The rest of Fnatic are re-engaging. Doinb is in so much trouble. There goes the spin. The Demacian Justice from Rekkles. He manages to get one.
Look at Camille in the mid lane.
Yeah, she comes. GimGoon jumps back in. Rekkles stays alive a few seconds longer. Not that long, though. And FPX get the delayed ace.
And they just keep winning these fights here. They're ready. They actually started the engage in the mid lane, then decided, nope, let's back out with the Ryze ulti, but they stayed together. Fnatic right now don't have that much damage. They can't just burst them down. So we actually saw Camille moving all the way from top to join the team later. This is the start of the fight. Now everyone from FPX decides we don't want to dive any further. Let's ulti out. We might get flanked by Rengar. So they get everyone out and they stay 4-man together right here.
And I want to highlight that path that you can see them going over, the double control wards that allow them access to get the surprise play. Then you have Fnatic trying to react with their globals, Twisted Fate and Rengar, both popping them to go in. Here, Bwipo walks right up into Doinb's range, though, gets shot with the Q on the side. Once he's down, GimGoon's teleport means there's also no escape for Hilly or Rekkles.
Yeah, I think he knew, I'm not getting out of this, so I'm going to try and get the brush to see if I can actually get on to Ryze with the Garen, and we might be able to get one more kill.
Well, I think Doinb sending a pretty big message to Fnatic in terms of damage in that last team fight. FPX 2,500 gold up, 4 kills up, 4 towers up, 3 dragons up, and every single punch Fnatic have thrown has not found a target.
And that's kind of the important thing here, because Fnatic's draft around 20 minutes is actually where I really feel that it comes online if they're not so far behind that they can't move anywhere, because now normally what happens is TF is in one side lane, Rengar is in the other, Garen, Yuumi can hold mid, you always threaten with the Yuumi ulti if someone sits there to try and wave clear, and then your two side lanes, one can obviously use TP or use his ulti. The other one has to just go into a river, a brush, and then you don't know if he's actually ulting towards you as a Rengar. So it stops you from getting any sort of control mid from FPX. You see actually Bwipo coming now. This is the exact setup I'm talking about, where Fnatic gets priority mid through just having side lanes who can join very quickly and gank you.
And this is kind of why I was talking about how this setup with the Rengar does actually have to snowball, because without that early priority, makes it so difficult to spread the map. You have to make use of this Twisted Fate ultimate and the Rengar. You know, one of the big strengths of the Garen Yuumi is that it takes so long even if you catch them, but FPX constantly finding these picks to attack Fnatic before they get to set up their pressure.
All right, a couple of ultimates committed top. It won't be enough, but it pulls Rekkles far enough forward. He gets taken down. Doinb forced to flash defensively, but he escapes with his life. And all of a sudden, Rekkles was caught out in the mid lane.
And every single time FPX starts a fight where there are multiple members together, they win. It's a big thing for them. If they start being split, and individually they can be caught off guard, then they can actually lose, but now they will win.
Oh, a lot of pressure. Hylissang's in trouble. Well, Broxah is going to be able to get over the wall. The rappel bought enough time for Fnatic members to come in for the defense. So Baron has been stopped, but as it stands, Fnatic still remain on the back foot.
Yeah, I doubt Bwipo's going to go in on this. That's definitely going to be an ill-advised Rengar ultimate there. Once again, FPX will get a reset off of this, and they've already got control wards on Baron where they can try and draw Fnatic. I just feel like they have so many cards to play right now.
Exactly, and you can argue snowball or not. At least don't fall behind 4 turrets to 0. And you can't actually do anything on the map right now. This is the play around mid lane. FPX already have multiple members around. Fnatic try to get at least 1 kill for it, but this Ryze just refuses to die.
And I feel like I really need to give some credit to FPX's engagers. That has been the big difference maker. They've actually been able to stop Fnatic from setting up their game plan before they can even get their lanes pushing on the side. It's really good engages from Crisp. Doinb using that Ryze ultimate to get the pressure down. And even here towards the end, now that we're seeing GimGoon finally on the Camille be able to have some use after the early lane phase starvation.
I need to take a second to talk about Doinb. He's 2-0-10. His team has secured 13 kills. He's on a pretty signature pick in Ryze, having 13 wins and 2 losses. And now FPX, they're starting the Baron.
Without TP, they don't have TP bot lane.
All right, so this is going to peel away. They get the Destiny, though. That's enough. That's at least 1 down, but look at this. The Realm Warp comes in. That's enough to force the flash from Rekkles. He continues to run for his life. Doinb will find Broxah, and that's already a kill. No TP, nobody cares. Demacia and Justice comes down. 2 quick kills onto Fnatic.
And right there, Fnatic, after stopping the Baron, that already used the TF ulti, so Nemesis decided to go top and catch the wave. That actually meant that 2 members were now stuck alone. FPX, they saw that great call once again, and they just dive onto Fnatic, find 2 members, no jungler alive. This should be their Baron.
Do they run the risk of going in? Final chapter is thrown down, and FPX will be able to secure it. Yuumi ultimate not going to do enough just yet. Bwipo decides to engage. The feathers fly. That's at least 1 onto Crisp. Defensive flash away. Yuumi and Zoomies doing a lot of work. Here comes GimGoon. He's going to hop over the wall. Hextech ultimatum comes down. There's the little kitty cat jumping over to Nemesis. Nemesis needs to get that gold card prime. Needs to hit the right target. As a teleport now comes in, Rekkles rejoins the fray. They get 1 at the cost of 1.
I think FPX, with this Baron buff, should go for a reset to get back in time for the Infernal Drake. I mean, that's going to be very, very big in continuing. Let's talk about the engage, though, because once again, this is them starting up the objective. Rekkles comes over into the river, and Deficio's losing his mind.
He probably expected TF to stay with him, and they could just kill this ward, and it would just be a full reset. But FPX, they're finding great openings. Everyone expects them to just go back there and then start all over. No, they saw, oh, this guy's alone. Let's go.
And once again, Chris, this guy on your screen, his flash is up. The Rakan engage is so important. Even though it is the Garen, it is the Rekkles, the tanky member on the team. They're able to find the pick. They get the Baron for themselves. And let's get back to live to see about how much they can do afterwards. Big kill here, does get traded over. As you know, Bwipo going to be able to finish that one off, but gets chased down by GimGoon in the river.
And as it stands, 16 kills to 9, another dragon secured. Realm Warp now sends FPX into the mid lane. I held my breath for a moment because I thought they may have caught Fnatic out, and Nemesis running away with the help of Hylissang.
And as long as FS stay together,
here comes Chris.
they cannot get caught out.
I was holding my breath there.
Too early, Trevor, too early.
Oh, stays together. FPX looking for the opportunity, but the quickness is down. That's a small win in trying to defend this turret. Actually, it doesn't matter at all. The turret just gets melted. There's the engage. Crisp still finds a target. Bwipo, a flashless Rengar. He easily gets taken down, and so does the inhibitor. Do they push for the Nexus?
That's a yes, quick shot. FPX full steam ahead. This is 5v4.
Oh, 5,000 gold lead. GimGoon goes in. That's so much damage. Now it's being returned. Hextech ultimated by some time. Broxah gets one back, but at the cost of Rekkles' life. Nexus turret number 1 falls. Nexus turret number 2 is the target. Hylissang needs to try to do something with the help of Broxah and Nemesis, but they can't do enough. They can't stop FPX. They can't stop the LPL in game 1. And FunPlus take the lead.
Fnatic in the first game tried Rengar and Twisted Fate. They wanted to try and split up the map, force FPX to play on all 3 lanes and get caught out left and right. But FPX managed to secure early kills. They controlled the bot side very well, at least in the early game before they started dying to the Garen Yuumi. And whenever we had an actual team fight, FPX, it always felt like they were there first and they were reacting better as a unit.
Yep, they get to start those fights on their terms, where they're the ones engaging. That's why we keep on highlighting their front line for them. And again, the mobility of Doinb on Ryze. We talked about him in the LPL and how much it was different from their showing so far at Worlds. This is what people were expecting.
Fans at home are going to be very critical of the draft. Do we mind the draft, or do we think it was execution?
I mean, it's a little bit of both.
I
think that draft and that plan can be a good plan. So I would say execution.
Yeah, I think it makes sense against FPX, especially because we know FPX likes to play around mid lane in the late game, so you actually feel like you can punish them there. So I think the strategy made sense. Obviously, execution in the game ended up hurting them.
It absolutely did. So Fnatic now, they have to bounce back from losing the first game. This is, if there was a chance to play a unique strategy, game 1 is where you go. Fans are going to be asking the next question: an AD carry for Rekkles or not?
I knew that was coming, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lesson that Fnatic kind of learned in group stage, and they did away with the Garen Yuumi with the Morgana bottom as well.
Sure.
I think that this is the way that the best of 5 is also going to trend.
I want to just go to Hylissang instead and say, give me a playmaking support and not Yuumi. I think you need Hylissang and Broxah together if they want to get control on bot side and actually also control mid. Because I think Doinb, he got to do whatever he wanted in this game, and that's a problem and something Fnatic needs to fix.
It absolutely was. For more on how game 1 shook out, let's head over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you, Quick Shot. Well, that was a game, if I've ever seen one.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah, we're
Really good start.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That devolved so quickly.
But, oh, that's perfect. Because I love that you start there, because that's exactly what I expect from this series. I think that this will be 25-minute smashes either way, because Fnatic and FPX love a very high-octane, skirmish-heavy style. This time around, FPX just cleaned Fnatic's clock, just completely destroyed them. And I want to talk about the draft and kind of the mentality going into it.
Yeah, I agree with Frost, because when we looked at this Fnatic draft, we were like, okay, this is actually a very classic standard Fnatic draft in a lot of what we see. And you can make the same argument for FPX, but focusing more on Fnatic for now, we finally get to see the Twisted Fate come out for Nemesis, a very big pick. We saw a Garen Yuumi, so a safe defensive bot lane, and we see a carry in the top lane. Now, what we wanted to see was Fnatic play through top side.
Yes.
Especially considering they got a first blood onto the Rengar, or he either got a first kill.
Yeah, first blood.
Yeah.
You're right.
But he killed him at level 2, and you're like, okay, this top laner, set up for success. And what ideally you want to do is create a 1-3-1 where you then play through your sides and you attack using the globals and high mobility that you have with a Rengar and a Twisted Fate with a Yuumi dashing about everywhere.
And I do want to kind of go a little bit meta or kind of macro as we look at the compositions and talk about mentality before we start talking through the plays. Because coming into a best of 5 and having a strategy of FPX saying like, like, let's just get comfort. Let's get the Xayah Rakan, let's get Doinb on his Ryze, let's have all of these champions that we're very famous for, and let's play very standard League of Legends, but in our playstyle, versus Fnatic, where, yes, these champions have been seen before by Fnatic, but it definitely is a curveball, because we know that Fnatic, when they were actually successful in Week 2, just went back to playing standard League of Legends, you know, put themselves on a Xayah, and I think these mentalities heading into the series are very interesting, where now FPX just showed that they didn't have to show any of their hand. They played picks that you already knew existed in their champion pool and just beat you playing standard League of Legends.
Yeah, and what I loved about not even just the composition, but how FPX played into Fnatic. Recognizing that the Twisted Fate was pretty crucial, having the Olaf, the LPL Olaf, basically, where you can clear fast, have the experience advantage, push through mid, get control of the bot side river. It was so difficult for the Twisted Fate to get free, basically, to make it happen.
Just about every champion that we had questions surrounding in the pregame was brought out in this game itself. And Champion Select was about the only time we were allowed to breathe during this game, because from the outset of this one, the level 1 into everything after that was chaos.
And I do want to reiterate Vedius's point, because we kept saying, play topside.
Yeah.
It was Bwipo who got the reset on the blue buff. He forced out a bad smite from Tian, and then suddenly he 1v1 kills, and it feels like everything's going right. And here is where I think things start to turn. Because of the dive on bottom lane, I think Fnatic got scared, and they pulled Broxah down to hold Rekkles and Hilly's hand to make sure that they couldn't get dove again, but it was just over-committal when Bwipo was a clear win condition top.
Yeah, I can understand the reason to be afraid, because when, you know, FPX gets the early push and can take bottom lane turret, then you suddenly have the Rakan roaming out. You can utilize the Xayah to go through mid. Suddenly, you know, Ryze in the bottom lane, you have to answer to him. So there's a lot of factors that come into that. But once again, Rengar was rolling.
But here's where I think it breaks. Once Rekkles and Hilly prove that they can 2v2 kill the Xayah Rakan, they know this matchup very well. They are the best Garen Yuumi team at the tournament. I think once you have that Yuumi ultimate, it's then impossible to dive Garen Yuumi. You can no longer kill them again. And Fnatic needed to register that and say, okay, as long as Yuumi has ult, we don't need to actually babysit her. Broxah sat there for like a minute and a half, just sitting in a bot lane while FPX was back in base, wasting so much time, wasting so much experience, instead of running top lane with the least Twisted Fate on a Rengar that's hard smashing lane.
Right, and Vedius, this logic is in direct contradiction to what Fnatic actually do, which is continue to go to the bot lane, and we see a botched turret dive turned in favor of FunPlus. Phoenix really starts to get the ball rolling in the other direction.
And I mean, the thing about this play, right, is Elise isn't even here in the setup. They utilize Nemesis's ultimate. They know they have TP, but it's FPX that reacts first. And while I do not agree with what Fnatic are doing, this also showcases a great example of what FPX is so good at, and it's their teamwork and ability to work together. Those double teleports were instant. Doinb and GimGoon were already in a position ready to react to the potential ultimate for from Twisted Fate.
And Raz, this was one of the big champion questions. What happens when Ryze falls into the hand of Doinb? And look at that stat line, 5-0-11, amazing kill participation, absolutely ran amok. Should he get this champion again?
Nope. Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. Just simply because he had so much control through mid, and even if he finds himself in a bad matchup, let's say in the next game, issue is it's Tian that is able to free him up. And it's the ultimate that'll get him to... Sure, we're talking about, you know, Twisted Fate ulti. It's the Realm Warp that'll get the job done to match that. So I think that this is his champion. Get him off of it.
And I think FPX coming into this game just showcase how good their baseline is. It was something that we talked about on the analyst desk, and it's like, what is the base level versus what is the potential? And I feel like we've only seen the baseline of FPX, and I still think there's more in the tank, because we talk so much about their drafting. As Frost said, they've only kept it standard so far. They've done nothing too out of the box, and there's still potentially 4, 5, or like 4, 3, 2, however many games left to go.
Final thoughts.
I just think that while Ryze was impressive, I don't think he was the problem there. I think Fnatic will look at the Rakan and the Camille, because it was the Rakan every time finding the hard engage and catching Fnatic in their 1-3-1 setup. It was constantly them being halfway up lanes before they got blasted by a Rakan, so they never got to play the map.
That was an absolute treat of a game in terms of the entertainment value. Game 1 went the way of Doinb's massive Ryze. We'll see how Fnatic reply after the break.
Does get the level 2, Bwipo going hard, has the empowered Q, conquer Brock!
He's chasing 110 HP! Savage! attention to GimGoon. Will be able to be an unseen predator, hopping and skipping and jumping onto FPX. He does get shut down on the fray. LWX, the Demacian Justice from Rekkles. He manages to get one.
Look at Camille in the mid lane.
Yeah, she comes. GimGoon jumps back in. Rekkles stays alive a few seconds longer. Bwipo decides to engage. The feathers fly. That's at least one onto Chris. Defensive flash away. Yuumi and Zumi's doing a lot of work. Here comes GimGoon. He's going to hop over the wall. Hextech ultimatum comes down. They can't stop FPX. They can't stop the LPL in game 1. And FunPlus take the lead.
Behold the World Ender!
What are you willing to lose? You cover your wounds, but underneath them a million voices in your head that whisper, stop now. Another twist of the knife, a turn of the screw.